Hey everybody, this is Perch. I was talking with a writer last night about the hardest characters to write. The characters that writers struggle with because they're just for a variety of reasons are very very difficult to put on page. And the writer immediately went to a character I've heard about before, and it seems to be one that a lot of writers dislike or at least struggle with. And it was Captain America. And Captain America is one where writers seem perplexed about a good pitch. Now, if you're listening to this, you probably have one of two reactions. The majority of you, I suspect, are thinking, well, put me on that. I got a million ideas. I'm ready to go. And then there's a small handful of you that are like, yeah, he is tough. And when you drill into the why it's tough, you generally get this answer. Well, all the good stories you could do with Captain America have already been told. And, this was the answer I got last night. That's why Marvel pushed to have Sam Wilson or the Falcon take the Captain America role so you could breathe some fresh air basically into that franchise and you could do some new things. Because with Steve Rogers, you've told every story there is to tell. And sometimes people go on with, you've had him in the war, you've had him as a man out of time, you've had him as a man out of time again when Rick Remender put him in that Dimension Z. You had him in a deep spy kind of thriller where we revealed that Bucky was not dead and we brought him back to life. And then we've actually killed Captain America through Civil War and we've brought him back. And so you have these, it's like there's nothing else to tell. And so there is a reluctance to want to write Captain America. Interestingly enough, by the way, one of the reasons it's often given is it's like, well, it's a superhero world where you have people with powers, and yet the leader of the Avengers, one of the most, the centerpiece, has no powers, or he's got augmented strength and agility and everything, but he doesn't have cosmic rays he can shoot out his hands or anything like that. And so it creates a difficulty in how do you write this, underpowered hero in a superpowered world. What I find fascinating about that comment, though, or that example, is that many of the same people will cite another character that is really, really hard to write, Superman. And with Superman, the argument is he has too many powers. He could move planets around, and how you write that in a world of, powers and gods and everything else. I think both of those arguments are missing the point to a large extent. So I want to give you kind of my pitch for how you could, do lots and lots of Captain America stories. First off, I think that you shouldn't look at it narrowly, like, we have to tell a certain amount of stories. But you see that in kind of a lot of the current writing of Captain America. You have Captain America rediscovering America. And in some ways, I think this is people who remember fondly, and rightly so, the Mark Grunwald run where Captain America became a little disillusioned and he had to kind of find his, the spirit of America again. He became the captain for a limited amount of time. You just had these moments with Captain America where he was, kind of rediscovering himself, rediscovering America as a man at a time. The world has changed. And how does it fit into it? What does he think about the government? And what does it mean to be a patriotic hero in a world where you shouldn't always have blind patriotism? Kind of all these different pieces that go into the character. But that doesn't mean you need to keep going back to that story. And writers today do. And in many cases, I think it's because the writers are turned on the TV and they're seeing the cultural divide in politics. And they're seeing stories around, sporting events where, the athletes are not allowed to wear an American flag on their uniform because it's going to trigger people. This happened in Seattle recently. And so you get people all wrapped up with, well, what would it mean about a superhero wearing the American flag, but he doesn't agree with the polarization of America and Republicans and Democrats and blah, 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 blah. And I think all of that creates a trap for writers where suddenly you've got this character that has to be questioning himself and concerned, and you overthink it. It's like, yeah, he was in the military and he did those actions. It doesn't mean that has to define his entire career. You've got, if you look at some of the Captain America stories were also a lot of fun, the Bloodstone Hunt being, one of many, you could have Captain America just on an adventure, traveling the world, trying to defeat a supervillain. The villains that he can go after, you don't always have to have him go after, Red Skull or Red Skull Light or Baron Zemo or somebody associated with Nazis. You can have him go after the Serpent Society, as we've seen. Have him go after AIM or Hydra, which we've also seen. But you can have him go after the Frightful Four. You can have him go after, ninjas. You can have there's all kinds of things that you can do with Captain America that, break him out of this mold of the same old stories and the same old villains. I think a lot of it goes down to Captain America is a strategist. He's somebody who cares about life. He's meant to be inspirational. So given those tools to work with, you can have Captain America go up against any villain. You can have him go up against Doctor Doom. For that matter, Captain America in a, 2 to 3 year arc where Doctor Doom is, trying to impose his dictatorship will on countries around Liburnia or various things, or, basically you could start the story off quite simple. And the thing you should base this off of, by the way, is the Bourne Identity or James Bond or something along those lines. The idea of a spy thriller. It doesn't need to be an Ed Brubaker kind of darker spy thriller. You can just have it be a lighter, like the Bond movies, like the Roger Moore Bond movies, or you could have it be a little bit more, light and airy in terms of, the heaviness of the plot. But Captain America, basically in a situation where, some terrorists are trying to blow up the Liburnian embassy in the U.S. or something. Okay, so innocent civilians are in the way and are hurt. And so Captain America finds himself having to defend the Liburnian embassy. And you basically do it as like a 3-issue arc where, a lot of destruction happens and Captain America has to hunt down, I don't know, just some hired guns. And you can have it be like Batroc the Leaper or something along those lines. Some villain with some ties to Captain America for some continuity. And you have him foil this plot. But then, Captain America is basically, Doctor Doom comes and thanks Captain America for, helping save the embassy. And Captain America, basically being him, is like, I didn't do it for you. I did it for the innocent civilians here in America that were trapped by this. I don't agree with your fascism. Something that kind of puts Doctor Doom in his place. And Doom doesn't like being talked back to. And so he starts to screw with Captain America. Maybe he goes and he, engages in some kind of military action overseas and, with friends of Caps that happen to be stationed there. You could do a number of different scenarios that draws Captain America into this long arc where he's, basically has to go kind of defend freedom. But at the same time, he's having to make a choice about how much to get involved in, another nation. That's going to give him some complexity, but have it be a fast-paced kind of spy thriller where Cap has to, save lives, be inspirational, and at times is going to be in an element where people do not want him around, like Latvernia, where he's not the hero, Doom is. And so you could basically play, but in that process, you have Doom throw some villains at him that are new to Cap, that we haven't seen him face, 80 times before, that he has to kind of figure out how to, adapt his strategy. He is absolutely overpowered at times. And he's got to figure out a way because he's Captain America and he does. Anyway, you could easily tie up 2 to 3 years worth of comics with just that and have it be a pretty badass omnibus when all is said and done of Captain America facing kind of ultimate threats and everything else. But you'd also don't even have to go to that limit. You can do a lot of things. And that's the key to Cap is, keeping it simple, which is something I've talked about before, is the name of the game here in comics. Captain America is a inspirational, adventure-based hero. He has enough powers that you can have him in situations, unlike Bond, where things get blown up, you have to come up with a convenient way to have Bond escape it in the last minute because he's going to get blown to bits. Otherwise, you can have Captain America take some of that damage and it's okay. But keep the stories moving very quickly. Avoid the temptation to have him, get too, myopic about his situation. Have him, this is a reason why freedom is not always a good thing. And look at these, like, I don't want to defend these white supremacists and I've got to, speak out against them. But at the same time, I agree with the right to protest, but they're also fascists. So I'm going to punch them anyway. Like Like, you got to take a break from some of that. And I don't say that to say, Captain America should be in support of fascists. No, of course not. That's not true to his character. It's just there's only so many times you can run that story before everyone knows where it's going. Part of comics is also being original. The dynamic is, how do you be original and then stay true to the character simultaneously? That's kind of the challenge that you have in front of you. But anyway, I think Captain America is not that hard of a character to write. I think there's obvious things you can do to make him exciting and to do some cool stuff. But apparently, he's very difficult. So what say you? Is Captain America just the impossible character to deal with, or is there another answer here that people just aren't considering? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, as always. And thanks for listening.